Kendra Duggar exposes Joseph in jail call recording. Just know that everybody loves you, even if they're disappointed. Just understand that they love you too. My intentions were not pure. And right there is when everything about this family stopped making sense. Because Joseph Duggar, the one son everyone thought was safe, the boring one, the quiet one, the golden boy who just stayed in line and had babies and smiled through every episode, is sitting in a jail cell right now facing felony charges. And his wife Kendra, the woman who was supposed to stand by him no matter what, is the one on the other end of that phone call telling him his own family is disappointed in him. And honestly, that call alone would have been bad enough. But when you stack it on top of the arrest, the charges, the second arrest of Kendra herself, and the fact that Jim Bob Duggar appears to be hanging his own son out to dry financially, while Kendra's father has to start a GoFundMe just to keep the lights on, this becomes something else entirely. This is not another Duggar scandal. This is the Duggar family unraveling in real time. And this time, it is not Josh. So let's walk through what actually happened, because this moved fast, and a lot of people are still catching up. On March 18, 2026, Joseph Duggar was arrested on felony charges of unlawful sexual activity with a minor in Florida. The arrest affidavit states that the alleged incident took place back in 2020 during a family vacation in Panama City Beach. The victim was reportedly a 14-year-old girl who was 9 at the time of the alleged incident. And before anyone says maybe this is a misunderstanding or maybe the details are wrong, Joseph himself was recorded during a pretext phone call with a detective before his arrest admitting, and this is a direct quote, "My intentions were not pure." That is him, on the record, saying that to law enforcement. So there is no ambiguity here about what he knew and what he was aware of when confronted. 2 days later, on March 20th, Kendra was also arrested. She was hit with charges of child endangerment and false imprisonment. Now, the details around Kendra's arrest are still emerging, but sources are saying it came after a home inspection linked to the environment their children were living in. And the false imprisonment charge is the one that has people really scratching their heads, because that implies something far more extreme than just negligent parenting. Some are speculating that this could be connected to the extreme disciplinary techniques that have been linked to their religious community for years. Practices like blanket training, which involves placing an infant on a blanket and physically correcting them if they crawl off of it. These methods have been documented in the Duggar family circles and have been criticized for years by child development experts. But whatever the specifics turn out to be, the fact that both parents were arrested within 48 hours of each other and both are now barred from seeing their own children tells you that this situation is not minor. This is not a misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion. Something was deeply wrong in that house. And then the jail calls leaked. The first one, reported by TMZ on March 31st, is the one you heard at the top. Kendra is on the phone with Joseph and she tells him that everybody loves him, even if they are disappointed. And Joseph responds calmly that he is not upset or anything like that about the family's reaction. Now, pause on that for a second. Because the tone of that call is what really got to people. It does not sound like a wife who just found out something horrific about her husband. It sounds measured, almost rehearsed, like someone who has been in this position before, managing a family crisis, protecting the image, keeping the peace, and that made a lot of people very uncomfortable. The second call, reported by Page 6 on April 10th, is even more revealing, but for a completely different reason. In this 20-minute recording from the Washington County Correctional Facility, Kendra and Joseph are discussing money. She mentions selling possessions to pay bills. She says she does not know the exact cost of a construction project they still owe money for. And this is where Jim Bob enters the picture, because the question everyone keeps asking is simple. Where is the patriarch? Jim Bob Duggar is a man who has built his entire public identity around being the leader of this massive family. He controls the finances. He controls the narrative. He controlled the TV deals for years. And now his son is in jail on felony charges, and what is Jim Bob doing? Leaked emails obtained by E! News, dated March 25th, show that Jim Bob wrote to Joseph saying, "You are probably going to face major consequences for several years to come. You are just going to have to accept the situation at this point." He ended the email by saying, he and Michelle love Joseph very much, but love does not pay for a $600,000 bond. And here is the thing. that really set people off. Jim Bob, a man sitting on a multi-million-dollar real estate empire, does not appear to be paying a single cent of Joseph's legal costs. Instead, Kendra's father, Paul Caldwell, had to launch a $30,000 GoFundMe for housing costs because Kendra was forced to convert their family home into a rental just to scrape together bail money. Think about that. The Duggar name is attached to TV deals, land holdings, and commercial properties. And the daughter-in-law is crowdfunding to keep a roof over her head. One comment on Reddit put it perfectly. Jim Bob's love always comes with a price tag and a side of "I told you so." He is not cutting Joe off. He is just letting him drown so he can save him later. Another person on the same thread wrote, "Kendra having to start a GoFundMe while Jim Bob sits on millions is the most Duggar thing ever." Someone on YouTube said, "Wait, Kendra was arrested too?" The cycle of enabling in this family is actually terrifying. And on Twitter, one comment cut even deeper. "Joe was the boring one. This proves the whole good son act was just a mask. Burn the whole compound down." And that is really what this comes down to. The cycle. Because this is not the first time a Duggar son has been arrested on horrific charges. Josh Duggar is currently serving 12.5 years in federal prison for possession of child sexual abuse material. When that happened, the family narrative was clear. Josh was the black sheep. He was the exception. He was the one who strayed while the rest of the family stayed faithful and obedient. But now Joseph, the son who was supposed to be living proof that the rest of the family turned out fine, is facing felony charges of his own. And people are not looking at this as a second isolated incident. They are looking at it as evidence that something was fundamentally broken in that household from the very beginning. And the parallels to other Duggar family fractures are impossible to ignore. When Jill Duggar and her husband Derek Dillard started speaking out against Jim Bob, questioning the finances from the show, questioning the level of control, they were essentially cut off. Jill has been open about the fact that her relationship with her father is deeply strained and that she was not fairly compensated for her years on camera. She was punished for being a rebel. But Joseph is not being punished for rebellion. He is being distanced because he is a liability. And that distinction matters because it reveals that Jim Bob's loyalty was never about family values. It was about asset protection. And then there is the Kendra question that nobody seems to be able to answer, because the false imprisonment charge against her opens up an entirely separate conversation. What was happening in that house that prompted law enforcement to file that specific charge? Were the children being subjected to the extreme discipline practices that have been documented in IBLP communities? The same communities Jim Bob has championed and financially supported for decades, and if that is the case, then Jim Bob's silence right now is not just about protecting his wallet. It is about protecting his own exposure to scrutiny, because if these practices were taught through organizations he promoted, then the question becomes not just what did Joe and Kendra do, but who taught them to do it. Someone on Instagram wrote, "Praying for the children. They are the real victims while the adults play games with jail calls and GoFundMes." And that is the part that keeps getting lost in the noise. Joseph and Kendra have 4 children together, all under 8 years old. Both parents are currently barred from seeing them. The children are reportedly in the care of other family members, but it is unclear which family members and whether Jim Bob has any role in that arrangement. And given everything we know about how Jim Bob operates, that question alone should concern everyone paying attention. Because here is what nobody can figure out. If Jim Bob is truly done with Joseph, if he has genuinely washed his hands of this mess, then why is he still sending emails that say "I love you"? And if he has not washed his hands of it, then why is he letting Kendra's family scramble for GoFundMe money while he sits on a real estate portfolio? It is one or the other. Either he is in or he is out. And right now, it looks like he is doing exactly what he has always done, positioning himself so that no matter how this plays out, he comes out looking like the reasonable one, the concerned father, the man who loved his son but just could not save him. And if you have watched this family long enough, you know that that narrative is never accidental. So I want to know what you think. Do you believe Jim Bob is genuinely stepping back? Or is this strategic distancing to protect his own reputation and finances? And what do you make of Kendra's tone on those jail calls? Because the more I listen to them, the less it sounds like shock, and the more it sounds like someone who has been in survival mode for a very long time. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below because this family has been cracking for years, and I think we are watching the foundation finally give out. I will catch you all in the next one.